Hello, beautiful people. Let's talk about death.
One breath at a time, I'm breathing.
Death is not fun, I know. I'm afraid of death. I'm afraid of dying. I'm not necessarily afraid of being dead, but the process of dying doesn't seem very fun. And this fear was made real for me by watching the show called A Thousand Ways to Die. If you don't remember the show, good. This show was a show on Comedy Central. I think it was supposed to be a comedy, but it was actually a horror for me. This show detailed all the thousands of ways that humans can perish. And it was so random. Somebody died. This is an example. Somebody passed away by spinning around, you know, those in the playground, those little merry-go-rounds that you run around and like you get momentum and you get on it and you spin around and around. Some person used a machine to spin it faster, like a wheel, to spin it faster. And he spun so fast that he threw himself off of the merry-go-round and died. Like, what? You know, and as a kid, you're like, what? I play on that equipment every day. You know what I mean? And the show really made real, I think too soon, because I was a kid, how vulnerable humans really are. You know, when you're a kid, you think you're invincible. You can jump off of anything and you can rebound and you're good. You can scrape your knee and you'll be fine. When you're a kid, you're not really thinking about death, you know? But this show kind of took my innocence in that way. Like, I'm like, wow, people can die from the most random things. One of my most irrational fears that I have is falling into a vat of liquid nitrogen. There is no reason why I should be around liquid nitrogen at all. But there doesn't mean that there's not a fear in the back of my head somewhere that I'm going to fall into a vat of liquid nitrogen and die. Thank you so much. A Thousand Ways to Die. Long story short, I was talking about this show and my irrational fears with Jamile and saying that this show really showed me that there are really 1,000 ways to die. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to live forever in the best circumstances. Now, there's a caveat for those who are older. I've heard a lot of my elders say, like, oh, I'm ready to go. It's ghetto. Like, I've seen everything. I've done everything that I needed to do. But usually this is after a person has lived a full life. You know what I mean? Like, this person has experienced the joys, the ups and the downs, and they're ready to go. And that's why when children or people who are younger pass away, it kind of feels like a theft. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like a theft because even though death can find all of us, right? It feels so unfair to have someone pass away so young without getting to live that full life, without getting to opt out of life. You feel me? Like, when you get older, you're kind of like I said, you've done everything. But what about those people who haven't done everything? You know, what about them? And as a kid, I think I feared death so much that it made me afraid of living. Because these people were just living, right? Like, these people were just living. They were just out there minding their business and death found them living. And it really made me think about that. Like, I hope that if and when I pass away, death finds me living. I really want to be found living. I want to be found smiling and full of life and accomplished, using air quotes, whatever that means for me, fulfilled. That's what I want. That's how I want death to find me. Not before my time, not me not living, right? And so me talking about this fear with Jamile really brought up a question for him. And he said something very profound. And he was like, even though there's 1,000 ways to die, there are also 1,000 ways to live. And I was like, wow, that is so profound. You know, being afraid of death keeps us from living, right? It keeps us terrified and stuck in our little boxes and the places that we think keep us safe, right? But the thing is, like, sadly, we cannot miss our appointment with death, right? And this could be a very bleak conversation, a very dark conversation, or it can be an invitation to actually live. Like, it can be an invitation to actually enjoy your life. I wrote something down earlier and I want to read it to you. I said, I hope when death finds me, she finds me smiling or sleeping well, drifting on the edge of dreams. Life can be hard and disappointing. We fight for crumbs in between the cracks of our lives. Time moves too fast. Illness stays too long. Lovers become strangers and friends become long-lost loves. Even still, live and love. Our dreams lead us into the wilderness, wandering and weary. Joy can be painful and hope can be deferred. Dream on anyway. This journey is heartbreaking in ways words fail to describe. Circumstances can knock the wind out of you, and even still, live. I understand there is risk with living. There's risk with living and loving and taking up space and trying and dreaming and attempting, right? Like, you can have your dreams dashed or deferred. You can have your heart broken. You can get the no, right? The no, the door slammed in your face, like on the way to your dreams. And people will see that and be like, there's no point in living, right? But no, there is. Like, what is the point, right? Like, what is all this for if we're not going to keep living, right? And the question that it made me ask myself is, while I'm here, how do I want to live? While I'm here in the in between, while I'm visiting this earth, while I'm, you know, I don't know, gracing you with my presence, you know what I mean? While I'm here, how do I want to live? How do I want to live? When Jamal was talking about 1,000 ways to live, even though death is kind of inevitable for all of us, even though death finds us, right? I hope she finds us living. And there are 1,000 ways to live that makes life worth living. It makes life feel like we're not just spinning on a rock aimlessly, right? Like it doesn't feel like we're counting down our days, right? There's a way to live where we forget the days, where we forget about death, you know what I mean? Or where we're reminded about death in a way that invites us to live more sweetly in our real lives. You know what I mean? Like stop trying to put off death, but just trying to live life. Like there are so many people, even when I think about like the beauty industry, right? Like I think about how we're all trying to pickle ourselves. We're all trying to not age. We're all trying to be as young as long as possible. And I really think we really need to talk about our fear of aging and death, and also ageism and capitalism and sexism and all the things in America. And I'll list those videos because I talked about those things before. But like, yeah, this idea that like, if I don't move, if I don't smile, if I don't express my face, then I won't age. It's kind of how a lot of us are walking through life, right? If I don't do too much, then I won't be disappointed. If I don't hope, then then my hope can't be deferred. If I don't dream, then I can't be disappointed. I can't be hurt. I can't be harmed. If I don't live, then I won't die. You see how that all kind of like wraps together, right? Living differently hurt too much, right? Living differently hurt too much. But what hurt worse than that? Like, yes, what I'm trying to say is that the disappointment hurt, right? Having a door slammed in my face hurt, right? But what hurt more than that, what caused me way more grief, much more grief, is me watching the calendar, the days pass me by, and me not living and stepping into my life fully. That hurt worse. I don't know what the end is going to be. I don't know. I don't know what the whole point of me making this video is going to be in the end 10 years from now, 20 years, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now. I have no idea, right? But like, all I have is this day. All I have is this breath. All I have is this moment. You know, I have this song called One Breath at a Time that I'll probably play for you at the end of this video. But that song is an invitation for you to live your life one breath, one step, one movement, one day at a time. We try to live our lives in these, you know, these big chunks. We need our life to be big and like important. And we're looking for validation, but also like we're looking for a reason to call ourselves special and different. We're looking to make this big, indelible mark on the world, right? But like those big marks, like those indentations, happens over time, slowly. I think about walking through a forest, right? With paths that are created by game, like they call them game trails or whatever. People who hunt or whatever call them game trails. But like, it's like a path in the woods that you might see. It's not necessarily official. Like there's no sign to say, hey, this is the path here or whatever. But because people have walked through, because animals have walked through over time, the path has worn down. And I really feel like that's how our lives are. Like a better example would be like our life is a block, a big stony block. And I'm not, I don't know why I keep using examples that I'm not qualified to talk about. But either way, we all understand the idea of sculpting. There's this idea that sculptors say that that the block has a photo or a picture that they're trying to chisel out of that block. You feel me? And I feel like that is our lives. Like our lives are a masterpiece. And we get to our masterpiece one little tink, tink, tink at a time, or one little walk or step at a time through the woods, you know? And so a lot of us are avoiding living because we don't want to die. A lot of us are avoiding expressing ourselves because we don't want to age. We don't want to be reminded that our time on this earth is short, that our time on this earth is short. I don't know how else to say that. Like it is short. Life is not long enough. You know what I mean? Life is not long enough to do all the things you want to do. Life is not long enough for me to fall in love with all the people I want to fall in love with. Life is not long enough to read all the books I want to read. Life is not long enough. You get 80, maybe 100, maybe 120 years. It's not long enough. It doesn't feel long enough. And this is obviously me speaking as someone in their 30s versus somebody maybe in their hundreds who might feel differently, right? But life doesn't feel long enough. But I often think that our life feels like it's going so fast because we're not doing the things that bring us joy. We're not doing the things that cause us to pause and linger a little bit. We're not doing the things that makes time stand still, makes us stop looking at the clock and counting down to our last day, you know? And like I was saying earlier, living differently cost me a lot. People didn't understand me. People poo-pooed me. And that stuff is painful. But again, what is more painful is me not living my life, me not taking up space, you know? So there's this book by Bronnie Ware called the Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, right? And the number one regret, are y'all ready for this? The number one regret, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. One more time. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. For me, as a person who struggles with depression and anxiety and just like despair, the world is so dark and heavy and it can feel pointless. It could feel hopeless, you know? But what makes my life feel even more hopeless is that shrinking that I do to fit into other people's imagination of who I should be, right? I often felt like I was dying because I felt hopeless. If this is all there is, then what's the point? What's the point of living? If I have to keep shrinking myself and I have to keep pretending to be somebody that I'm not, if I have to keep prioritizing something that's not important to me, if I have to keep putting on a mask and showing up as a person that I am not to please other people, but forfeit, being myself, to please other people, but harm myself or forget myself, what is the point? What is the point? And if I never get to really touch my soul and allow the sunlight in, what is the point of living? What is the point? I've tried to live the life that others expected me to live, and it felt like death. It felt like death. It felt like living in a cage. And either way, there was shame and anxiety, right? So let's talk about this. Me living the life that other people wanted me to live brought me so much shame and anxiety. I felt ashamed because I felt wrong for not liking the life that people said that I should live. You should do X, Y, and Z. If you want to be successful, do X, Y, and Z. Excuse me, I need some water. And the whole time, I felt like an imposter because I was. I felt like I was playing a part. I was playing a role, and I'm a bad actor, And so, I'm playing this role, pretending to be okay, trying to be an adult, a real girl. I'm a real adult. I'm a real woman. You know what I mean? I'm a real artist. I'm responsible, And trying to be responsible caused me to lose myself, caused me to hate myself because I knew that I was not doing what I was put here to do. I knew I wasn't meeting my potential. I knew I wasn't being brave and doing what my soul knew to do. I was lying to myself and lying to everybody else around me. And then on the other hand, if you choose to take up space in the way that you want to take up space, you still have to deal with the shame and anxiety you feel from people judging you, right? So whether you choose to live a life that other people want you to live or whether you choose to live your own life, people are going to judge you either way, but also yourself, right? You have to sleep with yourself. Either way, you're going to feel the anxiety and the shame. But one is easier to work through because one version of that shame that I feel is really about myself and being true to myself. And I would never be ashamed of myself for being true to myself. People might be ashamed of me. That's their problem though. But for me, I'm proud of myself. And I get to choose to live the life that I want to live in the way that I want to live it. So I felt anxiety because I felt like I was living somebody else's life. I felt like this life wasn't mine and all my days were passing me. My days were just passing me by. You know what I mean? Here goes another week doing something else that I don't want to do, giving my precious sacred life and time that I can never get back to this company, this person, this place that I don't want to be at. I don't want to be with. I don't want to invest in, And so that anxiety was building up and I felt like I was going to explode because this life is no longer mine. And that made me anxious because I felt trapped. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I would have panic attacks because literally I would wake up in the middle of the night. I'm not joking. Having panic attacks because I felt like I was fearing death. And I was fearing death because I wasn't living. I was fearing death because I was counting down the days until I would no longer be here anymore, right? And then I was so depressed because all those days were filled with what other people told me to do as opposed to what I felt I needed to do in my soul. So when my life felt like it wasn't mine, I literally had no rest. I had no peace. I felt like I wasn't being a good this person because everybody's telling me, oh, you should feel good about this. And I don't feel good about it. So now I feel like a failure. And then I feel like a failure to myself because I know that I'm not really, advocating for myself, loving myself very well, And yeah, it felt like my life was passing me by. But the question I want to ask you is, and I had to ask myself, what is the life true to yourself? Not the life other people say that you should live, right? We have enough of that. I also wrote down some expectations that I feel from society, right? The life that others expect of me. And I'm going to read you some of what I wrote down. Okay. So the life that others expect of me. Some of them, society, right? Society has expectations placed on me. I said there are all these expectations placed on us before we can even figure out who we really are and what calls to us for our answer. There are markers set before us, markers that we are judged by. If we fail to meet the markers, we are seen as failures. We have not earned the right to a joyful and dreamy life. We must pay for our joy in sorrow and suffering. That's what I believed. I believed that I had to be a real adult first in order to begin to enjoy my life. That the price for enjoying your life is your joy, which doesn't make any sense. We think we have to suffer first to get to joy, but that's what we're taught, right? We celebrate the suffering. We celebrate the person who suffers the most. We celebrate the person who suffers the longest, right? We gaslight them into thinking that it's something admirable when really we are just applauding people for killing themselves for somebody else. We're applauding people for betraying themselves. We're applauding people for lying to themselves and to everyone else about what they really want, who they really are. And we shame them for taking up space in the way that they were meant to take up space, Another expectations, my own, my own expectations. I said, honestly, my expectations are made up of the expectations of others, right? So they're fake expectations and timelines. Failed, respectable careers and paths, and I just wanted acceptance to finally feel enough. And I can also feel the expectations of people that love me and mean well by me, right? Like they don't want me to starve and die, and I'm an artist. You know what I'm saying? And so that there's this idea that like artists just die of starvation, that they're not allowed to be supported, that it's not a real career, it's not legitimate. You know what I mean? Like people turn their nose up to art a lot, but art is a part of everyone's life. That's a whole other conversation for a different day. But I think in them wanting me to do well, they also kind of poo-pooed my dream in a lot of ways, or made me feel like I wasn't doing it right, or that if I'm not making money, like there's an idea that people have of a successful artist. And if it's not that, then you're not successful, right, in their mind. Even though you could feel like a success, you could feel good about what you're doing. But if other people don't validate it, then like they'll say that, oh, you're not a legit artist. I.e., if you're not making millions of dollars, if you don't have millions of streams on Spotify a month, if you don't, if you're not touring the country, like there's this idea that people have of artists, and they say like, oh, if you're not there yet, then it must not be working out for you, then you should quit. You know what I mean? And I've had people who love me. I've had family members tell me that, like, oh, it's not working out for you, Alicia. So you should quit. Prioritizing capital, a job, capitalism, business, security above my own joy, even though none of those things are secure. Not like the capital, the capitalist, like none of these things are secure, right? Neither is my art career. You know what I mean? We're all just out here trying our best, trying to figure it out. But the things that people say are a sure thing, they're taught that things are a sure thing, but nothing is ever a sure thing. Nothing. That job you got today can fire you tomorrow. Okay? I've seen it happen. You know what I'm saying? And we're taught to not bet on ourselves, but bet on other people and ask other people for their approval, Yes. So lowering my wants, my desires, my expectations and boundaries and dreams and hopes to fit other people's acceptance and to avoid my own disappointment. This is what people expect me to do, right? Like, oh, if I get disappointed, just quit. Just quit, Alicia. But from that conversation, a better question emerged. And the question was, what is the life you actually want to live? And I want to read you some of the things I wrote down because I really like it. And I want to hear your answers as well. Number 1, The life I want to live is a slow life, slow creation, being a slow creating artist, making music on my own time, writing books, essays, and poems, and anthologies, prose, creating on my own time, sharing slowly and generously. And the reason why I wrote that is because that's not what people tell you to do. They tell you to go fast, go hard, go all in right now, do it right now. And if you don't do it, you're going to miss your time, right? I'm trusting my timeline. I'm trusting slow, you know? And people don't get it. And people think that if you don't have any success within their timeline, i.e., 3 months, it's usually something ridiculous, then you should just give it up. I'm not willing to do that. I would love to live slowly, traveling, capturing stories and beauty and culture. I'd love to ride trains across the country. I would love to go to Europe. I would love to go on cruises to Japan. I would like to take a boat transatlantic to Portugal. Carrying a camera and a journal. I want to write stories and journeys. I want to enjoy myself and learn and rest and share what I want to share when I want to share it. I want to live in my car and van. I want to slow travel to beautiful places in nature. I want to be still and quiet, capturing beautiful scenery with visuals and audio. I want to sit in nature, reading aloud my journals and sharing my thoughts, and I will. Eventually, I want to go back to school, maybe. I might want to go back to school in Chicago and study ASL to English interpretation. And this is something that I gave up a minute ago because academia really traumatized me. I know academia has traumatized a lot of Black women, but yeah, like I went into school so excited and happy, and I left a discouraged, beat down, broken, depressed, anxious mess. My teacher, I had one specific teacher who was also the head of the department, so there was no escaping her. And I also went above her head to the dean of the school, and she sided with her. It's a whole thing. My school is also racist, so that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, so my teacher made it her mission to discourage me from thinking that I was good enough. Like, she made it her mission to remind me that I ain't nothing. You feel me? Like, she went out her way. And it really discouraged me, and it made me feel like a failure. And I realized, like, she doesn't own me. She doesn't own my the possibilities that I have. She is not the alpha and omega. She's in my life. She is not the one who gets to say what I do and what I don't do, right? Like, and I'm still healing those parts, which is why I'm pushing it off. But like, somebody would tell me that time has passed. It's over now. And I refuse to believe that. I plan on going back to school at some point. These are the lives that I want to live. Let me also say this. I have more than one life that I want to live. Of course, when I say that, I'm reminded of my grandmother and her stories that she would watch during the daytime, One Life to Live. But anyway, I have multiple lives that I want to live. I have multiple things I want to do, multiple careers I want to try, different places I want to travel to and live in. Like, I want to live my life to the margins of my life. And I think that capitalism teaches us that we have to choose one way of living or one thing forever. And that's not how that works. We are all changing and evolving, you know? And what we did 10 years ago might not be what we're doing 10 years from now. And that's okay. It's not a failure. It's like, it's just evolving. It's moving like all nature does, evolve and grow. Okay. Another thing I want to do, I want to go see the Northern Lights. These are the ways that I want to live, the 1,000 ways that I want to live. Going to see the Northern Lights, camping under the stars while watching, whale watching, in Pacific Northwest, but butterflies in Pismo Beach, California, Forks, Washington, the home of Twilight, the book. Like, I want to go that place. I want to go to Durango, Colorado, one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. It's so beautiful. Durango, Colorado. Gullah Geechee festivals in the South, reconnecting with my Gullah Geechee roots, bioluminescent lights in the Florida waters, following the footsteps and tracing the places of my ancestors, touching their soil and camping under the stars on Assateague Beach, living in Playa del Carmen for a few months, flowers in California, learning about cultures, learning about spirit, womanism, Black women, indigenous cultures, community, mutual aid, softness, sweetness, herbalism, cooking, loving, and being free. I want to have DC days, go to museums, going to restaurants and concerts and coffee shops, botanical gardens. I want to read books on a bench. I want to listen to music on the trains. I want to make visuals and collections from my music and stories. I want to live in an earthship home, self-sustained and at peace, having a strip of land and a garden where I pick my own herbs and share with my family and friends. I want a beach house in Virginia Beach, especially in the winter. I love beach living in the winter. I want slow, sunny, romantic mornings. I want warm music and hot tea, open fields in nature. I want free time. I want to be in love, right? I want to be safe, full, and naked. I want to be falling in love, lingering, and unhurried. I want to retreat into nature. I want to set up a camera and just retreat into the woods. I want beautiful conversations with beautiful people. I want to help Black women heal through creativity, workshop, books, events, retreats, etc. I want to spend my life spoiling myself so damn well, giving myself the love that I look for in others and I look to give to others. Like, these are the ways in which I want to live. I want to live this way. These are also some of the dreams and also some of the intentions that I have for the year, for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? But the whole point of this thing is like, how do you want to live? You're here. And death is scary. I'm not going to hold you. It's scary to think about. It's scary to consider that we might not be here anymore. That things might not work out when we try them. That life is not no crystal stair. You feel me? Shout out to Langston Hughes. But like, in all that, how do you want to live? You're alive. You're here. How do you want to live? That's the question. Yeah. So when I made that list, I realized the 1,000 ways I want to live feels like hope. It feels like hope. It feels like hope. And it feels like joy. It feels like leaning into the life that I know that I'm supposed to be living, right? I think a lot of us live the life we think we should be living and not the life that brings us joy to live. And I want to live a life that brings me joy to live. Because if I don't have joy, again, what is the point? Joy is my focus for 2025. That's my word, joy, right? I don't want to do anything if I don't have to that doesn't bring me joy or that doesn't lead to a joyful outcome, you know? But yeah, the question for you, what is the life true to yourself? Be brave and honest and bold. This is an exercise. This is not saying you have to quit your life and uproot everything and go for everything right now. No, just give yourself space and time to use your imagination. Our imaginations are so untapped. They're so like, they need exercise. Sit down with a piece of paper and write down the multiple lives you want to live. I have other lives I want to live that I haven't shared that I'll probably share later, maybe. But like, or I might just do them, you know? But there are so many different lives that I want to lead and live. And that keeps me going. Though there are 1,000 ways to die, there are also 1,000 beautiful, joyful, loving, fulfilling, generous ways to live, you know, while we're here. Yes. So dream without limits. Dream without limits. Be unrealistic for a moment. I love being unrealistic. People call me unrealistic all the time, or naive or gullible, whatever. Call me whatever you want to. I have hope. And I'm so grateful that even though life has beat my behind, she ain't steal my hope. You feel me? Like, I still have hope. I still have the bright eyes and the bushy tail. I'm an idealist because I believe in who we could be. I believe in what we could do. I believe in the future us. I believe in what we're capable of. You know what I mean? Like, I have hope. And a lot of people don't have hope. And so they tell me it's silly to have hope. And that's okay. I'll have hope for the both of us. You know what I mean? It's okay. But yeah, it feels like hope. And I also want to make a note about hope deferred. There's a scripture in the Bible that says hope deferred makes the heart sick. And there's different ways that this has been expressed. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it, you know, like a raisin in the sun, right? Like we have heard this example used over and over again. But yeah, hope deferred does make the heart sick. It does make the heart sick. And I'm going to talk about that later, like being in a hope deficit. You know what I mean? I feel like we're in a hope deficit. I feel like we're in an empathy deficit, humanity deficit, just kindness deficit. You know what I mean? And it can be really hard trying to hold your square, hold your own when everybody around you is either giving up the ghost, giving up hope, or they themselves are wearing you down to give up your own hope. And I just want to tell you that you're strong and that you're resilient and that you're doing a good thing. By holding on to hope. I know it feels silly. I feel you. I know it feels like, what the heck is going on? Am I stupid? You're not. You're not stupid. They need you. Even the people who don't have the hope, they need you. We all get hopeless sometimes. You know what I mean? And you could be the medicine. Not saying you have to subject yourself to abuse or mistreatment or harm, but like you can be the hope that somebody else doesn't have. You feel me? And you can exercise that hope by living your life and showing people what's possible when you live with hope, you know? But yeah, because hope deferred is a thing, do something. I wrote down an example because one of the things I wrote down was like, I want to travel the world and I want to live by the ocean. I don't have the ocean near me and I am in the DMV. You feel me? Like, that's where I am right now. That's my context. So am I going to say, well, I can't live the life I want to live, so I'm not going to live at all? No, I'm going to find little bits and pieces of that life that I want to live. So maybe I don't have the ocean, but I got a bathtub or a pool. You feel me? Maybe I don't have the forest, but I got the woods. You know what I mean? I got a park in my neighborhood. I wrote down, I want to travel the world and learn about other cultures, right? I can't do that right now, today, but what can I do? I have Google, I have YouTube, there are encyclopedias, there's a library. I can also learn from people in that culture. I can buy a book. There are so many different ways to get to where we're trying to get to, that hope, that it can feel like, oh, it doesn't count because it's not the legit or the real thing. That is the real thing. Even if you can't do something on a big scale, scale down. That counts too. That's still taking baby steps in that path, or like chiseling out that beautiful picture of the beautiful sculpture. It is also putting the pieces together of your beautiful life. Like, that's how you make a beautiful life, right? Baby steps, small things, one at a time. So yes, go to museums. That's another example. If you want to learn about culture, go to museums. And I wrote down, there are 1,000 ways to live, right? There are 1,000 ways to die, but there are 1,000 ways to live. And miserably does not have to be one of them. You don't have to be miserable if you don't want to. You know what I mean? Like, there are choices you can make to live a more joyful, fulfilling, lovely, happy life. And I'm going to write down for you one more time what I wrote down. I hope when death finds me, she finds me smiling or sleeping well, drifting on the edge of dreams. Life can be hard and disappointing. We fight for crumbs in between the cracks of our lives. Time moves too fast. Illness stays too long. Lovers become strangers and friends become long lost loves. Even still, live. Live and love. Live and love even if you lose something, even if you can lose. Our dreams lead us into the wilderness, wandering and weary. Joy can be painful. Hope can be deferred. Dream on anyway. This journey is heartbreaking in ways that words fail to describe. Circumstances can knock the wind out of you. Take a deep breath and live. All right, so I'm going to play my song for you now, one breath at a time, because that's how we have to live. One breath, one moment, one day, one decision, one joyous decision at a time. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I love you. Keep loving yourself. Love each other. This is your life. Live it. Live it. It's worth living.
One breath at a time, I'm breathing.